This video is purely for educational purpose.
To just do the context setting, this is the last opportunity to dive into a sector which by nature can be a decadal or a multi-decadal. And like every sector, this is a cyclical sector. So the last couple of years have clearly shown that the sector which was not in favor or where there was limited budget allocation over the past couple of decades. Now, certainly there is a spurt in activity. Some of it can be to the geopolitical activity, but more importantly, what needs to be understood by everybody who wants to study the sector, that shipbuilding is not only about defense, navy, protecting waters, only about that. There's a very big important angle of commercial shipbuilding, commercial shipping, repairs, because the majority of the trade across nations, it happens through ships. It does not happen on road. It doesn't happen by air. Hence, that is a very important factor which also contributes to shipbuilding activity either being in a lull or it being in the upswing as we see now in the last 2 3 years. So with that background, maybe I can just ask Amitabh also to share his views on the shipbuilding sector in general. That what has been his thoughts, what he has been reading, and what he has picked up at the overall level. Over to you, Amitabh.
Thanks, Kaustubh. I think shipbuilding is a multi-decadal play because at first it's a very deeply cyclical business and it takes around 3 to 4 years of cycle. If we look at any long cycle business, then the cycle is, let's say, 15 years, then there are good long 4 5 years of bull run and 3 4 years of bad run and 7 6 years of kind of okay-ish cycle remains. And I think we are at the cusp of this kind of futuristic bull run I'm talking about in shipbuilding, because in these businesses, which are typically infrastructure businesses, the main actor is not present in the room with us. Actually, the main actor is the government. And I have witnessed it in many places as a stock picker and also as a banker when I was actually appraising project finance deals, where project finance is basically where government gives some concession and basis which somebody has put money. For example, Adani or Renew Power or anybody is always in lookout for opportunities, and government is the main actor. So likewise, 10 15 years ago, it was solar at the base level. Solar was booming in 2010. So I've seen it very closely that 2010 say 15 20 tak solar ka backbone was being built, and then 15 16 onwards, good, we as a stock market investor also Borosil Renewable and likes of these kind of companies started coming up for IPO in 2018 or 19. And now we have a handful of solar portfolio altogether. So solar genesis happened in 2013 14 when Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission was inaugurated, and Modi ji has come and taken it on, and all those things happened. So any sector which we are seeing as a asset class now, there is a background history behind it. And for us, for new age investors, shipbuilding is that which solar was at least 7 8 years back. So we are at the start of a cyclical turnaround where government is equally serious, just like it was for solar and now for shipbuilding. And why I think so? Because I've seen those patterns. So I can tell you that first of the thing, what happens is that you get an infrastructure status. So solar and anything, wind sector got infrastructure status 10 years back, solar got 10 15 years back. So this status has come to this sector not more than 3 months back. So we got this approval just now that we are looking at an infrastructure segment. And when we talk about infrastructure, then there is another word which also comes along, and that is called PPP, public private partnership. So then this sector gets opened. So the whole idea of doing this podcast and doing this whole webinar is that when things will come, when you will start noticing that, okay, Adani was initially into port, for example, Adani is already there, JSW is already there, but they will try to get into, let's say, shipbuilding, they will do some joint venture, some MOU or something. So the smart money would start coming into this sector. And there are already two biggies. I've already mentioned that they are there. And the example of this is that if you look at Titagar Wagon, which is a smart money and into railway wagon system, now they have set up a shipbuilding unit. So the smart money is already flowing in. So two things we have noticed in this for sure is that government is ready giving infrastructure status. Now, second, government has done other thing also, which I'll talk about later. But private money, smart money is also flowing in. When people who had seen it coming, they have put money into it. And a couple of even off the ground also, if we touch base with people in the western coast. So if somebody, I have ground feed from Goa also, that some landlords are being approached for land, for giving yards, for making shipyards or some shipping related activity ke liye people are vying for land near the shore. So these are the supported by a ground feed also. So there are two three strong reasons why I feel that shipping is the next sunrise sector for India, and that's why we would like to have a deep detail with Kaustubh and team in this coming tomorrow. So I hope you guys can have a better perspective on it when we have a very structural presentation and layout on the every aspect of it. And I'm sure this will be a very good ground for looking out for 3 year, 4 year kind of stories, because that's where alpha will be created if we are early. And right now the valuations are also good in generally speaking. So that's a good opportunity for long term investor.
Thanks, Amit. Yeah. So coming to Costa so Costa like primarily a majority are stuck about the three main shipyards, namely the Mejga Dock or SCL and GRSE as a company. So, and even people are not aware what actually they produce. So, would you like to touch base about this, because you have been covering this aspect tomorrow?
Yeah, sure, Prince. Uh, so first of all, I guess what is necessary is when we talk about defense and navy, let me just explain a couple of basic concepts or key concepts which matter, and then we can understand what a shipbuilding company does and what kind of a vessel is being produced. So first of all, just like for any subject, we need to know the basics. There are three types of navies. So there is called a blue water navy. नॉन ब्लू में ग्रीन आता है और ब्राउन. So basically, what is blue water navy? So in navy or defense, it all depends on how a country projects itself as a power, as is the normal case in defense. So blue water is basically the country or the country's fleet is capable of operating across deep waters of open oceans globally. मतलब आपका country है उसके जो ports है, not within the vicinity or periphery of that, but you can go thousands of miles across various oceans and you can station yourself or participate in a war or even a defense mechanism. So the operational coverage can be thousands of nautical miles and they can even operate in another hemisphere. Now, what happens is whenever you have this kind of a capability, it is not just about sending your warships, it is also about having a fleet of ships which are called support staff or support ships. There are oilers, there are supply ships that allow the fleets to refuel, rearm at the sea itself. Okay, so they don't have to go to a particular port or they don't have to come back to the home port. So just to give an example, at one of the, of course, US leads as far as the naval power is concerned, post World War One, World War Two, and even now. You will be surprised that in some of the battles in the high seas that US was leading, there were ships which were filled only with ice creams in the support. So that was like the kind of preparation they had to support their the fleet which was actually fighting at the sea. So there have been times when in a couple of wars, seeing this kind of a provision that the crew which is fighting on board, they are being supplied ice cream by other ships of the US. It's actually the Houthis and some of the pirates have run away. Okay, so that is the importance of practically carrying a city on the on water. Okay, then of course you need to have air power like aircraft carriers to provide own air support, aggression, and you don't again need to go to land bases to fire your torpedoes. So this is the first thing, and over here, of course, US is the main one, the front ranking or the best top power in the world. That is, they have a fleet capacity and a support capacity and a firepower capacity through navy to fight in any hemisphere, any ocean, any continent. So the distance from US doesn't matter. So that is the kind of power or naval positioning that they have. It is followed by, of course, a couple of European nations, and then, of course, China has rapidly transitioned in many spheres, including this. So now, as we understand, this is blue water. Then there is green water navy, which can be considered capable of generating and defending their own nation and going a few hundred kilometers into the ocean, but basically defensive in nature. So over here, of course, we have India, which is a very strong green power navy, which is transitioning into blue water. That is the aspiration. And as Amitabh mentioned, as we are going to get policy support and government initiatives, whether it is financing, whether it is infrastructure status, That is all primarily with the objective of modernization of the Navy, because many of the naval projects to produce submarines and the destroyers have not materialized in the last 2 3 decades. So now, as we understand the difference between the type of navy that we have, now we can understand what is needed to be either blue. So first of all, for a blue water navy, you need to have the aircraft carriers in multiples. Okay. So if you just look at the numbers, then uh, of course US has the highest numbers aircraft carriers across the world. So uh, US has 11 versus single digits for most other nations. And if you look at which company in India is able to manufacture aircraft carriers, then it is obviously Cochin Shipyard. Then you have the next important, which is destroyers and submarines. So destroyers are those who can not only go along with your aircraft carrier, but they can launch massive attacks in the sea. So these both are manufactured by Mazgaon, which is fairly Mazgaon. So destroyers and submarines are manufactured by them. And the third is obviously GRSE. Now it is a riverine kind of setup, which is around the Hooghly. So they can manufacture smaller vessels which can be transported across the river, and then they can be taken to the sea. So the next level, which is corvettes and all frigates, which are again either a defense or a fighter mechanism, this can be manufactured by GRSE. So this was a lowdown on exactly what is needed to position as what. And as we see India modernizing, all the three companies are going to get a lot of orders. They're on the way. And currently, the order books can be in multiples of their revenues that they are clocking. Over to you, Prince.
Thanks, Costa Pai. So coming to Amitabh Bhai, I mean, there is a saying and truth as well. Those who controls the water rules the world, and we can surely see the policy level interest of the government, which was missing some time back. But again, I would want to understand from you to touch base, like on a policy level, what are the telltale signs or changes you experience at this point in time wherein we can relate that this is something government is serious, because this sector has a long gestation period, right? And we have, you already talked about the cycles within that, so would appreciate some touch base on that.
Yeah, sure. Cynicism around government always remained that whether the government is serious this time or not, because we have seen in the case of water. So water segment, there was Jal Jeevan mission, and there were a lot many things were happening, and there were so many listed company going gung and talking about Jal Jeevan mission and all, and stock of price also moved, and many investors followed also, and but for they got a heartburn because ultimately the cash flows which were government to give supposed to give, they it did not come to all the companies who are involved into it, and there was lots of graft involved at the local level also. So government blamed it to the state that okay, these guys are corrupted, so I'm withholding the funds, so I'm not giving funds to let's say any somebody who laid pipe for us in Jal Jeevan mission. So these things are always there, and one investor should always have these devil's advocate inside him to look at anything which government is saying with a pinch of salt. So that's true, very valid question, Prince Bhai. But I am here to I look at it many things from a very bottom up. I don't look at the big numbers, what announcement has come and all those things. So there is a company called Dredging Corporation of India. It's part of the value chain and everything. So I was studying this company since I am holding a Knowledge Marine, which is a competitor of Dredging Corporation of India in a way. So I have to see Dredging Corporation by default because I'm invested into Knowledge Marine. So what I've noticed 1.5 year back, I used to read Dredging Corporation annual report. So and the pain point was very clear that they didn't have new dredgers which was required to do job. I mean, if you are a EPC company and you don't have the crane, how you will operate? So likewise, if you are a port management company, port services company, you don't have dredger, you are out of work. So this September there was a maritime week was celebrated, and this Dredging Corporation of India, which is hardly 1,000 crore market cap company, they signed I think 15 or 20,000 crores of worth MOU with G companies like GRSE, and they got approval for buying new line of dredgers, new advanced dredgers and all, and they were actually making payment to GRSE for building those dredgers also, or Coaching Shipyard could they have given order and they were giving them money, and government has announced that now you can buy 2 more dredgers. So money from the government has come to smaller player like Dredging Corporation is not a Navratna event, not a big company from a PSU parlance, but they were signing MOUs and everything in 20,000, 30,000 crores amount. And this is the only kind of it's the only dredging company in India apart from Knowledge Marine, and only PSU. So in whenever we look at any new sector, we have to look at what the market leader is trying to do, because nobody is an island. Even any sector को अच्छा करने के लिए, the market leader of that sector has to be very bullish, and that's what I've seen in the case, at least in the case of dredging corporation, which is a key enabler for shipping to happen. So dredging is the step one. When you dredge, you kind of create the draft is a technical term for the depth of a port, in a way that if you need at least 14 meter of draft for a commercial ship to come into your port. So for making the draft of 14 meter, you need dredgers, you need advanced dredgers. So government has been doing it for through dredging corporation. Now going forward, still there is some time lag. So at least it will take 1 year for dredging corporation to get a very advanced dredger, and they will do all those things. But Knowledge Marine and other people, and even then some European companies are doing the job. So government is okay that as long as chalo, we are paying to European companies or other companies to build the dredging for us, because dredging was not a mainstay thing. But when they are coming to capitalize their own PSUs, and the PSU is signing for new dredger, that is the sign which means that government is serious. So that's the one proof that Dredging Corporation of India is kind of coming back to the field with new dredgers. So because that is the main thing. Even shipbuilding cannot happen unless our ports are very fully functional, and ports are very much needed for any kind of shipbuilding revolution to happen in India, and that's the step one. And that's where the money is coming to, apart from the defense side, which is a much needed thing which we need to do in order to compete with China and Pakistan. So we have a strategic necessity to kind of keep these enemies at bay, and we have very good as you said, that who controls the water controls the trade and everything. So we have places like Campbell Way, which is in part of Andaman Nicobar Island, which is one of the which is the southern part of Andaman Nicobar Island, and that is a very strategic in nature. So if we don't put right ammunition there, right, the good, good ships there, good vessels there, then we cannot enforce those things which US is currently doing. So India can become a regional power into Indian Ocean and this Bay of Bengal in this area, and the Malacca Bay of Malacca also. So, and that's where our focus should be, because we are very much dependent on oil from outside, and oil will come from Gulf. So we need to protect that line. So this naval force is the safest force in terms of where the variance would be low. Like sometimes you will hear that army mein budget ki kami ho gayi, because army mein lots goes to the pensioner and all those things. So army is slightly doesn't know what to do with the money, because sometimes the money goes to if 100 rupees comes to army, some most of the portion goes to the pensioners. Sometimes this happens, and leftover may fir you do capex, you buy tanks and all those things. But in case of navy, the number of employees and ex-employees and pensioners are very low. So navy is anyway structurally more agile than army, and I don't know about air force. But so navy has been a very secular part of the armed forces, which is managed well. And so that's why they could build up a defense PSU, and nobody is near to them. Even second, non-public companies में सिर्फ L&T है. So you can think that there are not many people who can match up these top three names. So defense is so navy is so strategic, and that's why government has kind of kept these PSUs alive and kicking. So which means that somewhere we already had been aligned with this theory that we should control the sea. But I think the time has come now, and actually it is aligned with one more important thing, and that is job creation. So if you build up a port, and what I notice in these programs like Sagarwala programs and all that, the government wants to create jobs near the port cities. They want to create an ecosystem. There has to be train near the port cities. There has to be inland waterways, and all those things are being built around the water. And for the first time, I'm seeing that the water lines and all those rivers are so central for government agenda, which I've not expected or not imagined 5 years ago, that we will be so serious about using the waterway, Ganga ho ya fir Brahmaputra ho ya jo bhi Narmada, Kaveri and all those. There are many waterways, and there are many inland ships are being used. Even I went to Kerala sometime back, 3-4 years back. I'm seeing that the river was being used for for transportation of lots many things. So what we used to do long back, that is possible, but we need ships. if we have to borrow ships from, let's say, from China, which is the case for USA. Even Trump has said that even though we have so many ships, but we don't even make 1% of the ships of the world. So that realization came to Trump also, and that same realization came to Mr. Modi also. So the shipbuilding is very important because it creates job. It gives you strategic power. It gives you strategic intent to remain a powerful country in this domain, in this area. And also there are already you have three big shipyards which are PSU. So government will not withdraw from this equation. That's my humble submission. I can be wrong, but
It's really helpful, Amit, and I can surely say with conviction the 4 5 hour session which is going to happen tomorrow will have much more to it, be it the end to end value chain and all the companies. Direct beneficiaries or the ancillaries, and our honest view, the idea is not to give some buy sell recommendation, but where a study matches the data and what we think at this point in time, how things can pan out, and we can surely bet on the seriousness of the government without a second thought. So a follow-up question, Kaustav, on this, as Amitabh was also referring to, so modernization in Navy is something which is indispensable at this point in time. So how we should be looking at it?
Thanks, Prince. So I guess we have to break this up into three parts. First, let us understand the values. Okay. So as I had mentioned earlier, we have 4 or 5 types of main vessels that need to be manufactured in shipbuilding as far as the Navy is concerned. First, you have an aircraft carrier, which is whose cost is between 20 to 25,000 crores for one. And India has two now, and it has ambition to have at least two more in the next decade or so. Then the destroyers, which are the main attacking force, they are again 10,000 crore plus. Then you have frigates, which is a versatile workhorse, around 5,000 crores per frigate. Then you have corvettes, which is mainly for coastal defense, etc. Exactly opposite of a frigate. So that's around 3,000 crores. And then you have submarines of many categories, including the nuclear submarines, which can be between 10,000 crores to 15,000 crores each. So if you look at the amounts per vessel that is required for strengthening the Navy, forget modernization, maybe till 10 years back, India didn't have this kind of a budget. And as Amitabh rightly mentioned, in the last 3 years, we have observed a very big change where in the Navy, budget which is more than a lakh crore per annum, uh, almost 70% is given now to modernization and maintenance. Okay, which means only around 30% is given to salaries, pensions, and all other admin things. Now, that is the beauty about between all the three armed forces. Navy is getting the maximum amount for modernization as well as maintenance of these. So, there is clearly a foresight over here that if you are going to build something which is very new, modern technology, already there is a lot of budget that is being sanctioned to ensure that for the next 10 years that particular vessel or that particular submarine or that missile is going to be maintained at top quality. The reason for that is currently we have about submarines which are in double digits in India, but only half of them are operational at any point of time. Okay, so that is the problem when a proper technology transfer doesn't happen and you are just helped with the hardware, and if there's any issues with the software, then you are not in a position to make the optimum use of what you have bought. Okay, now let us look at what is the ambitious plan after we spend a minute on what has not worked in the past. So in the past, we had an ambitious plan. It was called Project 75 in 1997, where we just wanted to build two submarines over a decade. Okay, and it also did not materialize. Okay, the reasons were multiple. First of all, challenges related to technology transfer, delayed infrastructural augmentation, and that didn't happen. About a few years back, the Ministry of Defense had a very you can ambitious plan to have 24 submarines over the next 30 years. But the good part is for 6 submarines, already the budget has been sanctioned and the work is on. So, as Amitabh was mentioned, there is clearly a policy that is executable now, not just about making grand announcements or just mentioning that this is likely to happen. We are seeing work on the ground, there's infrastructure development, and already many orders have already gone. Now, last and the most important part, what is meant by the modernization of the Navy? So, modernization, first of all, means that like you had a few things only which were operational of what you created many years ago. You're going to now have, uh, you know, you're going to have vessels, you're going to have aircraft carriers, which are going to put you in the driver's seat and not in the defensive seat. So that's circling back to what I had mentioned. India has the ambition of going from a green navy to a blue water navy. So the priorities remain creating a next generation surface combatants. So 70% or 60% of the budget of modernization is going into funding the next aircraft carrier, the frigates, and as well as the fleet support ships. So when we were reading all this, we realized that there is certainly a foresight that you just don't want to create attacking vehicles, but actually there is a big budget which is sanctioned for creating the support ships, as I had mentioned, whether it is refueling tankers, whether it is armaments. Also, there is a special focus on submarines. Okay, so whether it is a cavalry type or the nuclear deterrence, and as many as six nuclear deterrent submarines, which is called ship submersible ballistic nuclear, is being already sanctioned and is being built. The best part about this particular submarine, it is a hunter designed to hide. So as you all know, a submarine typically is underwater and it does not want to get detected even by regular sonar technology. And this is considered as the ultimate insurance policy for a nation, because as you all know that a nuclear submarine, if it launches nuclear bombs from a distance, from a long range, that can practically wipe out a nation. So this is the kind of modernization that is being looked at. We are not just doing maintenance kind of or replacement theory over here. And as you all know, when you have an aircraft carrier, the aircraft carrier also will have aircrafts, it will have missiles, so it is attacker. So there are helicopters, there are BrahMos missiles, there are Sea Guardian drones. All that is part of the Navy budget. So our study clearly tells us that this is a policy which has been made well thought out to transition India from a green water navy to a blue water navy. Secondly, it is also necessary considering the geopolitics of the last many years, where first of all we had a one problematic neighbor. Now practically in the last 10 years, I guess every neighbor can stake their claim to create a problem for India one way or the other, and many of them don't look like sovereign states anymore. There seems to be somebody else who is deciding who will be the ruler or who will be the government over there. Barring that, if you look at the Indian Ocean route, okay, the Indian Ocean route and the Suez Canal, etc., they have been very important as far as trade are concerned. And in the recently concluded visit of Mr. Putin yesterday, there was a basic understanding of how they can strengthen on the trade part, which means that other than the Suez Canal, there is a very particular route that was being spoken about. That particular route can be used, which is the Chennai Vladivostok corridor, Eastern Maritime Corridor. This was discussed where the Indian shipyards can potentially build vessels which can go through that and which can be always an alternative if the Suez Canal comes under threat in terms of being not able to take your merchant navy through those Suez Canal route. So we are excited about this, and not only will the three main shipyards benefit from this kind of a multi-lakh crore orders that are coming, but a very big ecosystem of smaller companies is going to benefit for the simple reason that suppose Cochin Shipyard is going to get an order for two aircraft carriers totaling to 50,000 crores, or say Mazgaon Dock is going to get an order for five destroyers for 55,000 crores. It is simply not possible that everything will be manufactured in-house in these shipyards, because these are basically shipyards which build ships. So when it comes to critical electronics, when it comes to the weapons and equipments that will be loaded on a warship, there is going to be a lot of things that are going to be bought and assembled in these shipyards. So not only is it a decadal opportunity, modernization, I guess this is something that will go on and on. For example, China has been upgrading itself for more than 2 decades, and there is no reason why China will not continue to upgrade for another few decades. And I think India is just at the cusp of this journey, and we would like to certainly not only deep dive once, but we would like to do multiple times. So over to you, Prince.
Perfect, Kostabai, really helpful. And I mean, many things are new to me, even I mean, having discussed this with you guys a couple of times. So, indeed, the 4 5 hours of marathon, which is going to be really helpful for all of us, those who have subscribed. And if anybody is still interested, they can see the tag tweet to this spaces and can register if they are interested. So Amitabh bhai, another very important part is greening of vessels. So would appreciate if you throw some light on that so that the subject is a little bit clear to our audience.
The theme of ESG has slightly died off once Donald Trump has kind of pulled a magic wand on European Union and all, because the whole thrust was coming from EU for kind of ESG. But still, it has been kind of pushed by 1 2 years. So even though we have a slightly different combination in US, but still the theme is not dead for long. I mean, energy transition still I think has been postponed a bit. So but for policymaker, when government of India has a right to build a new blueprint for shipbuilding, because they are doing it for the first time enough, and they are doing it from the scratch. So what they are trying to participate is into two things. One is that how to reduce this ecological footprint of these all this making these ships. So one part of this is that India already has been doing it, that is ship repair and ship wreckage. Main thing is that, so in western coast near somewhere Ahmedabad in Gujarat somewhere, there is a place called Alang, which has Asia's largest shipbreaking setup. So there many ships come from China and from Korea and many places for getting it wrecked, getting it kind of broken down, so that we can do the so that we can rebuild something. We can take raw material out of it and use it for our economy. And so that is one part. So that but also the second more new thing which government is trying to do is trying to green the vessels which currently operates near our ports. And the structure of government of Indian ports is that there are 16 major ports and there are many non-major ports are there. So all these 16 major ports are owned by kind of PSU entity. I mean, some of them are privatized. I'm not privatized, but they have been given a PPP kind of arrangement and all are there. But ultimately, government has a say. And how government wants to write this news story is that they have told these 16 major ports that you have to buy green vessels. So for that, first step is there is something called tug. Tug is a vessel which is owned or operated by port authorities for helping these ship getting parked in near them, or bringing the ships near the port. Because when a large ship, commercial ships comes near you, then sometimes you need to tug it along. So you need to push it from both sides so that they can get in near the anchor. They can get anchored well. So those vessels are owned by ports. So government has said that there has to be 60 new new tugs has to be procured by 2030, and one green tug cost around 250 crore. I mean, I've seen initial tenders which was around 200 250 crores. So you can see that by 2030 60 new green tugs would be there. And so far the step one is that by 27 in the all the major ports, and they have earmarked six major ports, six top ports of India, including Chidambaram port and all, will have green tugs. So उसमें क्या होता है, ग्रीन मतलब क्या है कि जो पहले जो टग होते थे दे वर being operated from diesel, but now they can be operated from battery or hybrid or methanol. So there are companies like there are companies who are making it in India, like grse has the capability to build tugs in India using make in India emblem. And even Knowledge Marine has also won two orders out of 7 8 announced so far. So there are 16 orders to be done by 2017, and some of them has been won by KMEW, some are won by being participated by GRSC, and even Cochin Shipyard is can make these kind of green tugs. So in the value chain we have capabilities, and we need to see that how this gets played out, because as I said that 300 crore ka ek order hoga, so it gives a good time for any India based manufacturers. That kind of give us a fillip to onboard new companies into this value chain, because unless government will not do these kind of things which may be coming from a ESG angle or whatever reason, because even renewable came because of ESG reason also, one can say that it is a greener version of energy. So we are looking at greener kind of port infrastructure, and that's why green tugs are the new thing. And there is a scheme which is called GTTB. This is Green Tug Transitioning Program. So all major ports have to convert this by 2030. So this is one opportunity which I think where many small companies who have the capability can participate and win some contracts. So that's the kind of government is serious. That's why these kind of projects are being bid. And the Minister of Port has recently has given a announcement also. He flagged off the steel cutting ceremony for India's first all-electric green tug. This is a headline for 3rd December, just 2 days back. So lots of countries' focus is moving towards sustainability and energy efficient maritime operation, because ultimately it is all tied to India's trade deficit. So as an investor, whenever I look at things which are sustainable for India, because we are replacing diesel somewhere, so that becomes more sustainable, not because of ESG reason. That could be a European reason to go for. But for India, the reason is that we want to reduce our deficit, and the current account deficit we want to reduce, because we know that gold and oil is something which is crippling Indian economy to an extent. So whenever we are looking at any value chain, be it shipping, be it transmission, be it power, one investor who can benefit from this transitioning, wherever we are saving something, some dollars outgo from India, and that can also be played into shipbuilding theme. So there are a lot many angles we can look at this whole shipbuilding value chain. So we need to know who is doing what. So if you see that thirst of government is a lot more to save dollar, because we are seeing that rupee is crumbling to 90, and all those things are subconsciously that tells me that okay, the business plan for these companies who are aligned with sustainability on port or sustainable green tech program, so their future cash flow priority gets better and better, and that's how you will see that these things will reflect into stock prices. And there is no science behind it, but we cannot really know what is happening, but this is a sentiment thing, and this thing gets stronger as and when we are kind of facing the wrath of dollar. Let's say we are our rupees depreciating. So a lot more macro things are also involved into when we are dealing with diesel and greening of energy programs inside India, including shipbuilding. Over to you, Prince.
Thanks, Amitabh. So, not sure, Amitabh, we are ready to take company specific question or not, but I leave it to your discretion. So, one question I received in DM is on the Shree Refrigeration. So, the question is broadly like, what's the importance in the value chain for this company? If you want to touch base.
Actually, recently the event called Semicon happened in Delhi. So I visited the Semicon conference, and there's a company which is actually not known, unlisted company called Avantgarde. So I was speaking to one of the executive there. Avantgarde is a company who does the air handling units and air related air compressor for HVAC system for cooling and all, for industrial cooling and all. So they are the kind of a backbone company which is doing the cooling stuff and all. So I asked them, ki, do you see, okay, you are coming to Semicon, so I understand you have a Semicon capability to do all this cooling and all. So do you have any plans to go to marine side? Because back in the mind, I was thinking about Shree Refrigeration. So I asked this question, but then he said, no, actually there is some problem. We cannot do that part. Because we are good into cooling any industrial place, or give us a room, we'll cool it, we'll manage the temperature and all those things. But the problem with when we try to do a submarine cooling kind of thing, which Shree Refrigeration can do actually. So submarine में क्या होता है कि the it's a whole small planet in itself. Submarine को cool करना is itself a task, because submarine is generating heat inside, because it has to move. और वो डीजल से चल रहा है, तो it will create some noise, it will create some gases, it will create some heat, and under a pressure of so many bars. So it's a high pressure, and submarine has to be in the stealth mode. If you find a noisy submarine, then the submarine purpose is defeated. It has to be in the stealth mode, so it should be making less noise. It should be doing its own thing very calmly. So this guy, avant-garde guy, said that we cannot cool these kind of structure which are very difficult to operate. So submarine may our hands are tied. They require a super level kind of efficiency to operate the temperature inside a submarine, which is a different ecosystem. So we don't do it, even though we are master into other field. So I realized this, that Shree Refrigeration is doing that submarine cooling and all those things. Ship mein cooling ka HVAC system they are setting up. So that gives them a kind of a strategic advantage in terms of margin wise, I think, and TAM wise, they can do well when more submarines we are making. But we have to look at that how many submarines program we are running for Shree Refrigeration to do really well, because that's where their forte lies. But minus submarine for normal shipbuilding also they are approved and all those things are there. So shipping HVAC system is a complex affair which they are master of. So I'm sure. So that's how I look at this company. And also they're getting into data center. So they have a technology tie-up with a smart SMARDT. That's the company name. It's a French company or Canadian company. But their cooling system is not. I've not checked in industry that whether these cooling system gets used into data center or not, because they have a slightly different cooling system. So I don't know how many takers would be there. So data center side, I'm not technically very confident that they will get their fair share of market with this new technology tie-up which they are doing with this company. But on the other side, which is basically their main cash cow, the submarine cooling and the shipping cooling and all those things, they are quite hands-on into it. But the only thing one should always look at the cash flow situation also. So having said that they have a good approval from all shipyards and all. So that saves time, but still this is not a very good cash flow situation to be in from an investor point of view. So I hope I answered your question.
You surely did. Thanks, and we'll cover more tomorrow. So I think we had a very good discussion today, and more discussion won't be wise for the people who have registered, because we have touched base on the important points, and more with the presentation and recording will be available to the registered participants. Amitabh bhai, any closing remarks before we part for today?
I think shipbuilding is a long theme, and one should, whoever, I mean, my message to the person who have subscribed and who are coming to hear us. So one has to be really patient enough to really let this play out. So it is not that it will play out in 3 months or 6 months. So one should have a long view, and I think we'll keep coming with more updates on this sector from time to time. Maybe 6 months down the line, we'll come back again updating on what has actually happened. But to begin with, it's a very vast playbook in front of us, because we are going to talk about more than 150 slides through three speakers. So it is going to be a very good sessions, because looking at the slides and we have Manthan especially has put so much effort to put it across to you. I'm really excited to be speaking tomorrow and sharing whatever we know, so that you develop your own point of view on anything. And there are a lot many hype gets created, and I think हम लोग 30-40 नाम लेंगे, उसमें 3-4 के बारे में बहुत ही ओवर हाइप भी होगा, बिकॉज you kind of overpay for things you don't understand. But I want our audience to understand things so that you don't overpay, because ultimately the stock market is a place where an impatient person loses money and the patient one gets it. So how one can remain patient is through knowledge only, and that's what our initiative is. That's what we are trying to do here. So shipbuilding is just another page of this whole book. So look forward to speaking to you.
So with that note, I take everybody's leave. Thank you so much for joining. I hope we added some value, and those who will be joining us tomorrow, see you in the morning.